very quickly?
I'm going to say overrated as well. But we do have our feature match starting here. Scot Symonds, EUIC top 16, Arnhem Regional top 4, World's top 128, EUIC top 32, and I know top 4 ECC back in the day as well. Fantastic player representing the UK here as well. But then he is facing Toby Clark, LAIC top 64 and a Turin special event top 64 as well. No stranger to the highest stages, right, Alex?
No, not at all. I'm a big fan of both of these players from the UK. It's great to see them doing so well. They're putting themselves in a fantastic position to make it into day 2 and then potentially just try and claw their way up. Up the rankings. I was going to say claw their way up.
Yeah, I had a feeling. Claw was still in your head there.
I refused for a split moment. But yeah, it's fantastic to see. As I said, I know them both quite well.
And they both come from the same local area as well. So imagine that you're you're traveling internationally to come play, and then they're oh no, they're not actually. I got that wrong. I thought they were. I apologise. Thank you for correcting me.
No problem at all.
As well, like good friends at least. I know that.
Yeah,
they're very good friends.
I think everyone in the UK, and it's likewise with us two being like good friends across the UK nationally as well. We all know each other, right? We're all a part of the same circuit. The European circuits are great, and we talk about the community all the time. So everyone will know one another. They'll have friendly banter, good chat, and that's why the both players have been smiling and laughing throughout so far as we shuffle up and get ready to place down our prizes for this round 9 winning in action.
And let's have a look. So we see one Giratina V-Star, one Path to the Peak, 2 copies of Boss's Orders actually, and that V-Guard Energy. What an X-Factor that could be. You know, reducing damage from V-Pokemon, making it so that lost impact from a Giratina V-Star will not be taking KOs. But here we are, our Swiss round 9 winning in action here. Dortmund Regionals is about to kick off. Scot Symonds versus Toby Clark, and Scot Symonds is starting us off here, Alex, with that Lost Zone Giratina V-Star deck.
Yeah, we have the Flower selecting Comfort in the active spot. Greninja now on the bench as well. Concealed cards very early on, which allows him to just keep drawing cards, maneuver around. Toby, you know, despite going second, does have the option to, if getting enough Pokemon out, use Trinity Charge as an attack and not just Trinity Nova. But let's see how Scot's able to maneuver this first turn. Here's the first Flower selecting first card to hit the Lost Zone of our round 9 feature match. And just have a little look. That is a Clara. Really sort of putting a lot of value in that. Looks like an escape rope there, Shay.
Escape Rope's a fantastic card. I'm a big fan, you know. Just it's almost like a Boss's Orders in a lot of scenarios. Interesting seeing the Clara. It's a card we saw a lot of, I won't say back in the day, but, you know, in past formats. We do see that clutch Path to the Peak as well. Let's see, what does Toby have here? I don't think I saw that many playable cards. It's a very shiny hand. It's going to be an Iono and attached to the active, so there will be no Trinity Charge, at least on this turn 1. And we are going to see that Iono. Both players going to shuffle their hand, go to the bottom of the deck, and both players will take 6 cards to continue this game.
Yeah, just does have that Bidoof down, as you kind of highlighted here. Toby Clark with those fantastic Ultra Ball sleeves that we get to see. There is another Arceus V as well. Nest Ball also available to him. But, of course, already committed the Psychic Energy to the active. Knowing that it's very unlikely to get knocked out here, does have an additional turn to start finding the pieces of the puzzle to try and power up his own attackers.
And it looks like just going to do a little price check here. It's interesting that the energy is being counted for here. And I guess when you're playing so many different colors and types of energy, it's important to try and keep tabs of them. Worth noting, actually, I drew attention to that V-Guard energy before. That's currently in the prize cards for Toby. That is his only copy. So while I think that might be a fantastic card for the matchup, until it's liberated from the prize cards, it will be a non-factor here for Toby.
Yeah, it's one of those cards which sees a lot of play in Arceus decks to try and limit your opponent from maybe taking a one-hit KO, particularly with Giratina right now, with that lost impact dealing 280. V-Guard Energy would stop that in its tracks at 250 damage. So Toby, knowing now he doesn't have access to it, does get the Nest Ball utilized for that Giratina V just to begin building up the board as well, but does just pass it over. The good thing that I think Scot may have done on his turn was play that Path to the Peak down. Toby doesn't really have any other stadiums or normally any other outs, just that one lost vacuum to try and stop that fantastic Starbirth ability of the Arceus V-Star.
Yeah, that's actually really tough. You see Arctina back in the day would play stuff like Punkaboo to be like a ball searchable path to the peak out. That is not an option here for Toby. So finding a way around that path to the peak could be devastating, actually. As it is over to Scot's turn, he does like debating whether on a flower selecting, I believe. You know, everything is super important. Of course, experiment, I should say. It looks like, you know, looking at top 5, keep 3, lost zone 2. And let's see what he does. I see a Roxanne there. That's a card you really want to hold on to if possible, but it's so useful in the late game. You know, you have to sort of hold on to it.
Yeah, maybe just a few different ways to try to maneuver around at the moment. Scot hasn't yet got a Giratina down. No. Maybe doesn't really need to. You know, the only way Toby can take a knockout is through the latter turns when he's powered up, something like the Giratina V-Star or of the like, because with the Trinity Nova attack, you're only doing 200 damage, but often it's reduced by the DT attachment as well.
Yes, yeah, so normally that first Arceus V-Star will be swinging for 180 for that Trinity Nova, as we are going to see a Iono hitting the lost zone there for Scot. We're going to see a Nest Ball being played, going for another Comfey. Need to try and get cards in the lost zone so Scot can activate his Mirage Gates and then get towards eventually Sableye, Lost Mine, and Star Requiem from Giratina V-Star.
Yeah, and in similar fashion to what we've seen before with Bidoof and Bibarel, of course, and Industrious Incisors, it's so important to Toby's deck because he's obviously always utilizing something like Judge and Ionos to try and disrupt his opponent's hand with Path to the Peak. Of course, right now he's the one who's been sort of inhibited by that Path to the Peak in play, but he utilizes that Bidoof or Bibarel to try and get out of it, as we do see Scot continuing to dance around with those Comfies for the time being. Another flower selecting after that Jet Energy was attached to move it into the active spot.
We are going to see that Lost Zone get accelerated up to 5 now. Fantastic number. So I guess Lost Provisions is live, so you could see a Spit Innocently for 110. That is an option for Scot if he so chooses. Doesn't manage to get that Greninja, not Greninja, I should say, Giratina, as you did mention before. So we are going to see a Pay Retreat into the Cramorant. Lost Provisions does activate, meaning Scot can use Spit Innocently for 0 energy, dealing 110 damage.
Yeah, Scot playing his own take on the Lost Giratina deck as well. As you just saw, a second Cramorant hits the field. But not only that, Scot also plays the Tropius with their Rally Back attack as a grass attacker to try and combat some of those pesky Charizard EX decks that are hanging around in the hall at the moment in day 1. But 110 damage back over to Toby now. Does have Judge in hand, Ultra Ball in hand as well. Does need to find that DTE to start swinging of his own accord as well.
So I wonder, do you grab the Giratina an Arceus V-Star here, or do you find a Bibarel? Both could be good options, right? You know, Bibarel lets you draw extra cards, but then just finding an Arc V-Star there could just be, you know, so much pressure off having it in hand. But we are going to have the Bibarel, that Industrious Incisors, let you draw till you have 5 cards in your hand. But you're correct, DTE is the magic card here. We need to see a double turbo energy. Then you use Trinity Nova. Yeah,
has an Ultra Ball in hand as well anyway for the next card that Pokemon that he requires, as he hits one grass energy, another barrel, another grass. Okay. Not what he's after here, but we'll be looking to grab that Arceus V-Star here, I'm sure, just to make sure he has an attacker ready to go, and maybe we'll be looking to utilize that Judge to try and find that last piece of the puzzle here. It's just a Cramorant in the active for Scot, so it does mean it can survive another Spit Innocently. Not ideal from Toby's side of the field, but let's see if this Judge is kind to him.
Yeah, this is a really important Judge here, I feel, for Toby. Really wants to try and find that double turbo energy so you can start rocking and rolling, start attaching those energies, take a KO, get on the board. Here we go then, Toby. 4 new cards for both players. Here we go. Will Toby see that double turbo energy? The answer is no.
No, 2 energies, but not, again, that DT that he requires to start swinging away with that Trinity Nova. Will look like it's going to be another pass, which is super unfortunate. But Toby, of course, understanding now that he won't be knocked out here unless Scot can find a Giratina V in that hand and a Mirage Gate after a Chorus experiment. But that could be incredible if that happens.
Yeah, like the little shred for KO?
The little shred for KO. There's the Chorus. That puts Scot up to 7. Mirage Gate will be live after these 5 cards are looked at.
Oh,
and there's
is
a
some
couple of
Mirage
them.
Gates. Oh, and I think the Giratina in hand already as well.
But just has to, with the Mirage Gate, has an option to get it to the active and maneuver around, and that would be massive because then Toby's committed 2 energies to this Arceus V-Star already. Nothing else really on the bench. And yeah, Scott's in a really commanding position here.
Yeah, if we do see the Shred Cone, sometimes you saw the Arceus Giratina decks would play like a one of Raihan. So you can try and accelerate back to attacking if you have no energy in play. But that, it is an option, sorry for Toby. But again, trying to find it while Path to the Peak is in play could be really hard. But we do see that Giratina V, Alex, hit the bench. We're going to see those Mirage Gates being played. And that Shred's attack, we don't really see too often unless we're, attacking into Snorlax. But we are going to see it here potentially. And I tell you what a time for it to be live right now.
Yeah, Grass Energy in hand for Scott already. No other energies really have been prized. It was just the 1 Jet Energy, so it did have access to the full plethora of Water, Psychic, and Grass energies in the deck.
What a word, plethora. Love that. Love that from you.
Just trying. I'm doing my best.
You're
Mirage
doing
Gate coming down.
fantastic. You're doing fantastic.
You're making me blush. Mirage Gate, Water Engine and Psychic, Grass Energy in hands. Just now needs to maneuver into the active spot. Does have the other Mirage Gate, of course, to get to the active Cramorant to do that manual retreat. Of course, sometimes not the most best value, but I think taking the knockout here is huge.
No, it really is. If you're Scott, you're not to know that that there could be a Raihan, but it's going to be really hard to find. Oh, he's going to see a Spit Innocent, isn't he?
The only other thing, I was about to say, is that it does kind of set it up nicely because it's actually 270 damage.
Okay.
But then because we are seeing from Toby's deck, there's opportunities to weave in things like Sableye, and with that barrel also on the board. There's so many different ways that Scott could maneuver around and really sort of cause havoc for Toby's deck here. But he's in a fantastic position. Toby does have that extra energy in hand. We'll start finally swinging away with Trinity Nova. And I think we just got a bit ahead of ourselves because we just really wanted to see a knockout here. And that could kind of slow down the game.
Yeah, like I said, still in a fantastic position. There's a world in which Toby could go Choice Belt plus Boss here and actually remove that Giratina V. We know he does play 1 copy of Choice Belt. Oh, there's a DTE, unfortunately. Turned too late, but then what else do we see? Boss, Bidoof, DTE, and a Boss. And a Path, sorry. So it looks like I was going to see a Trinity Nova here, which will definitely KO this Cramorant and attach 3 basic energies from your deck to your V Pokemon in any way you like.
There's the Boss to deal some damage to that Giratina. Doesn't quite knock it out, also leaving it on 20 HP with that Trinity Nova attack. Not much else in hand, of course. Does have the barrel to keep drawing cards on future turns. On future turns. If I was Scott here, he'd also maybe be looking for something like a Boss to maybe take out one of the more healthier V-Star Pokemon on the bench there.
Because sometimes cards like Challenge Care could be an option, not a card we see too often. So leaving this damage in play should be fairly safe. Let's see what Scott can do. Still going to attach these energies from that Trinity Nova. And look how beautiful these shiny energies
so shiny.
It really is. Over to Scott is going to top deck, and let's see what he can manufacture. Top deck's a Giratina V. Not a lot of stuff in hand there, though, Alex.
Yeah, not ideal here for Scott. I guess one of those things, he can still manually retreat into a Cramorant to take an easy knockout from that perspective. Also could try and weave in a different attacker. Does play 3 water energies in the deck as well. But there you go. There's just a manual retreat. Protect the Giratina for the time being. Cramorant will be able to take 2 easy prizes, 3 Spit Innocentlies. Not quite as innocent as we always say.
There's nothing innocent about a Cramorant spending 3 times, taking 2 prize cards while doing so. There is nothing innocent about that, at least in my opinion.
No, not at all. Scott just deciding whether he wants to commit the energy to that Giratina. It is heavily damaged. Only has 20 HP left, but it's not as if Toby has any Pokemon that kind of sprinkles the damage anyway. And right now, Scott in a position where he's up on prizes. Board state probably could be a bit better. Does need another Giratina V somewhere down at some stage. Just start powering up a fresh Pokemon. Because, of course, right now, Toby does have the barrel engine going, does have the Giratina V almost ready to start swinging as well. Does have the Iono. deciding whether to play it, plays it down, giving Scot a fresh 4 cards from the top of his deck.
And Toby's going to get a fresh new 6 as well. So let's see what Toby can draw into here. Like I said, we'd like to try and develop a second Giratina V if possible. And let's see how this Iono treats Toby here. Has used Industrious Incisors already. Is that an Ultra Ball? Yeah. Is the last card there in the hand? Yeah. Oh, that's a box of disaster, yeah. I should say.
So which just kind of causes havoc here because it's put the Giratina down to 200 to 200 damage to 20 HP remaining.
Wow.
Evolving up to a V-Star does cause a lot of chaos, in all honesty. On Scot to decide how he maneuvers here. Only 7 in the Lost Zone. Star Requiem would be something that could go through the Arceus V-Star and not activate the box of disaster. If he attacks into it with a Giratina V-Star, does have a return KO on himself, which wouldn't be ideal.
If he attacks in there with Lost Impacts. Yeah. He says Star Requiem would get around that, but that would require another 3 cards to enter the Lost Zone there for Scot. Now, Box of Disaster is really interesting. If the V Pokemon is attached to has full HP and is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, put 8 damage counters back on that attacking Pokemon. Fantastic find there.
Yeah, Scot finds a Nest Ball, so can look to try and build up a second Giratina as soon as possible. Does also allow him to shuffle the deck, which is absolutely fine for him as well because he already has a supporter in hand, does have a Pokegear also there at the same time, but this might put one of those Mirage Gates that he was holding on to back around the deck again if he is able to Chorus Experiment onto it. So, big decisions here, I think. Comfey and the Chorus Experiment will put him up to 10 in the Lost Zone, so Star Requiem will be live. Interesting turn of events, I think. Yeah,
real chess match, I'd say, this one. No one's really steamrolled ahead here. No one got a massive inherent advantage. A Pendulum of Power is just swinging. You see a Chorus Experiment being played. They're going to get rid of a Battle of our P-Pass. That Tropius also looks like it's getting sent to the Lost Zone. Scot will keep double Switch card and 1 copy of Escape Rope as well, as that's going to get him to 9 in the Lost Zone.
Yeah, and don't forget, if Toby does take a knockout on a V Pokemon here on his next turn, Scot will be in range to activate something like the Roxanne.
Yes.
And really try and slow down Toby. Does have the barrel in play, but any opportunity to disrupt hands is always a good thing.
I think that was a Jet Energy and a Mirage Gate with the 2 cards there. It was a Mirage Gate.
Yeah, good eyesight there, Shay.
There we go. Try my best, try my best. I mean, you guys can't see me, but I'm leaning very close to the screen right now. We do see a Switch card. Going to get second Comfey into the active. Trying to maybe try and find what, like, V-Star would be quite nice here.
V-Star right now?
No, there's definitely no V-Star in hand right now, I believe.
Still nothing yet.
No.
Hasn't been able to find it. Does have a Lost Vacuum, so can bump his own path to the peak and then maybe utilize Radiant Greninja's concealed cards to try and dig a little bit further, but otherwise, this could be a very slow turn from Scot's side.
I think you really want to try and keep that path up, though, because if you get rid of the path, Toby gets immediate access to Starbirth and can do whatever he likes next turn. So, I don't know, getting that V-Star could be quite nice, but you're not guaranteed to get the V-Star if you use concealed cards either. Oh my goodness, Alex, this is so tough. We are going to see Lost Vacuum being played, though. Going to send another Battle of Air P-Pass and a path to the peak to the Lost Zone, which now means Rulebox Pokemon abilities are online. Radiant Greninja can use that concealed card. Like going to discard that Psychic Energy to draw 2. Do we see the Giratina V-Star? Ah! No.
There's another path.
Here's another path. You know what, fair enough. You had your 1 roll of the dice, and you can re-establish that path, which I actually think you kind of have to do, right?
Yeah, I think it's important. You don't want to give Toby access to that fantastic V-Star power that Arceus V-Star has. Starbirth, during your turn, you may search your deck for any 2 cards and put them into your hand. Of course, it's something that we've seen so often since its release now, as we do see the path being placed straight back down, but Scot has missed the Giratina V-Star and having to go into the Cramorant to spit instantly one more time. This is the fourth attack now from a Cramorant.
But it's doing pretty well. It's going to neutralize that Box of Disaster at the very least, and it's going to put 110 damage into play for Toby to try and navigate. Over to Toby's turn now. Let's have a look. I see a Judge, I see a Pop, I see a DT, I see a Boss, and I know. Well, I see 2 DTs and that Spirit Tomb. as well. Spirits are not going to be terribly helpful. As we see a double turbo energy attached to the barrel, so it will not be boss's order stalled anytime soon.
Yeah, it does have boss, which is interesting because then you can start targeting a damaged V with the energies on it, or just doesn't have to worry too much about the Giratina V at the moment. That's undamaged because it does have the V-Star ready to go, which is in a far more better position than Scot has got currently.
Yeah, and this is what Arceus Giratina does, like, you know, just slowly marching towards victory, announcing Trinity Nova, setting up attackers, but barrel to draw cards over and over again, as Toby's going to get himself on the board here with 3 prize cards taken. That V card is still there, but, you know, doing a fantastic job. Over to Scot now. Really need to try and start getting a big damage, or a big attacking, I should say.
Yeah, this turn, Scot will be looking, I would like to think, trying to take down that Giratina V-Star. Needs a way to get those energies onto his own Giratina V, find a Giratina V-Star, and gusting up that Toby's V-Star. Oh my God, I said that word multiple times in that quick succession.
V-Star, V-Star, V-Star.
Yeah, it's got a big target on his head because it can retaliate with 280 itself.
What's going on there?
There's a Mirage.
Oh, Mirage, okay.
Well, he just super run.
Yeah,
so he knew what was coming.
Okay. That's a lot to ask, though, from Scot's hand. I mean, only really doesn't have any pieces of that puzzle yet, realistically. Still needs to find boss, and only has flower selecting as ways to do that. So, big turn here for Scot. Needs to stay in the game here. Needs to try and fire off a big attack.
Has that poker gear as
well.
Does
have poker gear.
So, big flower selecting.
Roxanne, not a boss's orders, but is live.
Is live now that Toby's taken 3 prizes. Is it what you want right now? Escape rope, Toby will likely put up the barrel.
Yeah.
And it can't be KO'd by a Cramorant. Oh, this is tough.
Yeah,
lots of really tight decisions here. Lots of micro decisions to come. I mean, if Scot can find a Sableye, he can maybe then go move into that if the barrel comes up. But then that Giratina V is the only one on the bench. And that's just, again, got a big target on his back.
So we are going to see that Roxanne being played for Scot. That'll give Scot a new hand of 6 cards and Toby a hand of 2. That great equalizer. Path to the Peak is still in play. So Toby won't be able to use Starbirth to get him out of this scenario if that Arceus V-Star does survive the turn. Let's see what Scot has here. I see a boss. I see a Giratina V-Star. I see a lot of energy.
There's a V-Star. It's always a good start. That will allow Scot to take 2 big prizes here. And don't forget, Scot is only 2 attacks away from taking this game.
And one of those attacks could be that Star Requiem. It just says, get out the way, whatever's in the active.
Yeah, the only issue here right now is Scot needs another Giratina V on the bench.
Hasn't quite got access to it yet.
Because remember, that Giratina V-Star on Toby's side will come back up and retaliate for big damage. And despite not necessarily giving Toby the win by knocking it out, leaving Toby on 1 prize does mean it leaves Scot in a precarious position, as we do see the flower selecting there after the Jet Energy attachment.
I think Switch Card was one of the cards, and Chorus Experiment. Wow, okay, big turn here for Scot. Let's see what you're going to do. We see a Switch Card, so can maneuver that Confound active. We do see a Giratina V-Star. Boss orders can't be played, obviously, after the Roxanne. So we are going to see a Switch Card. Going to go into Cramorant, and there we go. That spit innocently. What's this for the 5th, 6th time?
5th time now.
5th time.
Probably not ideal from Scot's side of the board. Toby, if he's able to find a boss's orders
off the top
and then retreat into the Giratina V-Star.
Wow, what a swing turn there off the top. And we're going to see Lost Vacuum, Alex, to remove that Path to the Peak, which means Starbirth is going to be live now, but barrels will draw up to 5. Toby Clark to try his best to seal the game up here and just really put Scot in a very tough position.
Yeah, just taking this knockout is huge when Scot doesn't have another attacker that can really reach those 280 damage, or 280 hit points, I should say, as we do see the Jet Energy come forward, and Scot sees the writing on the wall, does concede game 1. So Toby Clark will be taking down game 1 here and put himself in a fantastic position to potentially make it into day 2.
Yeah, Van didn't even use Starbirth and was able to get away with that one. And that was a real close one. You know, I think that was a chess match, as I said before. You know, so many little intricacies and micro decisions that Toby was able to navigate himself out of.
Yeah, unfortunately, Scot just maybe one too many attacks with Cramorant, which was a bit unfortunate. There was no other direction to go in. You know, could have maybe stretched for and utilized maybe a shred, not keeping Toby's sort of boss's orders on it to kind of take the damage on it early on. So there's a few different things. I mean, the shred's not ideal because it's not taking the KO, but it does leave it in a position where maybe you can start spreading damage with Sableye.
Yeah.
And so on, but interesting build of Lost Box Giratina here from Scot. As I mentioned, he's playing the double Cramorant, he's playing the Tropius as well to deal with sort of dark attackers like the Roaring Moons or the Charizard EXs, and plays only the one boss, you know, the only one catcher effect card in his deck, whereas Toby with Arceus Giratina, it's the full 4 copies.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue that Path Peak of full 4 copies. Now, I'll be intrigued to see if Toby will be able to navigate his way out of Path to the Peak as well as he did last game, because I think if your Path to the Peak is in play and you're an Arceus player, you're not guaranteed to draw really particularly well without using that Starbirth. Did get away with it in game 1. Let's see if game 2, if Path is such a big factor as well. Looks like Scot does have a basic, so we are not going to see prize cards yet because Toby did not. So we're going to see at least one mulligan there for Scot.
Yeah, this is in a position. I don't think Scot's got an ideal starter. It looks like it was a Spiritomb that was moving into the active spot there. It was either the Spiritomb or Manaphy, it looked like.
I think Manaphy's
yeah, so Manaphy was the other option, but at least the Spiritomb could hit and run away if it really needed to.
Fade out. And then you can use that Fettered in Misfortune, which won't be doing a great deal in this matchup, but you know, not too bad. Let's see if Toby does have a basic Pokemon in this starting hand. The answer is
lots of energies and a Bidoof.
Uh-oh. Alex, I don't know if you guys got to see that hand, but I did. That's could be a one-way chip to City. Oh,
a couple of Arceus in the prize as well. Radiant Greninja and a Giratina V for Scot. Could be a little bit more detrimental for Toby because it has to find those Arceus as soon as possible. Scot is kicking things off for game 2 of our round 9 feature match. Remember, this was your choice from home to be able to watch Lost Box Giratina V-Star up against Arceus V-Star Giratina V-Star deck, as we do see the very early and very quick benching of the Giratina V with that psychic energy attached to it.
I think that's all we're going to realistically see here from Scot. All right, can Toby draw something to stay in this game? The answer is no. The only playable card, Alex, Path to the Peak and Box of Disaster. If Scot can just attack next turn, he will even up here our Swiss round 9 here at Dortmund Regionals, and it all goes down to a game 3. It is that Bidoof versus the world.
Yeah, that attachment there, and I think there's a little quick smirk over to Scot. Can he do anything here? Of course. We'll need to look for one of his Cramorants. There's Chorus' experiment. Does also then need to find 2 more Comfeys to be able to maneuver around and Flower Selects, or can look for that Lost Vacuum as well. He does play a couple of copies of those to keep ramping up. So options available for Scot Symonds here. Options available. His Chorus experiment is going to be very important. There is the Lost Vacuum, a Comfey. And the energy, so is that 2 easy Lost Zones, 2 easy Battle targets. VIP passes? The dream when you get to see it post turn 1. But is there enough in his hand to be able to maneuver around? Energy attachment, I think needs to find a switching card. Yeah, I think so. Needs to find a switching card to try and get there, but you know. Yeah, it's just one switching card away. Nestful can grab the Cramorant, moving into the Comfey with an energy attachment, and it's just a switching card from that Comfey that would allow Scot to actually just KO this Bidoof. I think Scot's just working out himself. I think you have to go for it, right? I mean, surely. We do see that Cramorant. Looks like it moved to the end of the deck there. Like you said, Scot just needs to find any switching card. You know, Jet Energy would work, Switch Card would work, Escape Rope would work, any of those would work, and then Scot will even up this round here. Oh my goodness gracious. Seems unlikely. I don't think the Jet Energy was in the hand, so it has to be an energy attachment to the Spiritomb to be able to retreat into the Comfey. And
Oh,
then
okay.
it has
Yeah,
to
sorry.
be
Yeah, you're
a
right. You're
switching
right.
card. I think that's true. I mean, we need to double check Scott's hand, of course.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Only one switch card prized at the moment, so there's a few options available.
Ooh.
Here we go. Energy, grass energy.
Do you even play that Pokey? It's just trying to think out a supporter, maybe.
It's one of those things where if he misses it, he wanted to try and hold on to the Poké Gear for a future turn. So here.
All right, here we go
Big.
then. Flower selecting. Do we see a switching card of Roxanne and Mirage Gate? I think that was.
Yeah, just a sigh of relief from Toby. I mean, still not in a good position.
No,
Toby
I mean,
still needs to top deck out of this. But does mean he has another turn if Scott can't maneuver out of this Comfey here.
Oh, it was a water energy. I apologize, but either one of them are not a switching card. But yeah, like you said, Scott doesn't immediately win this turn, but it's still in a very fine position. You know, he's got 3 cards in the lost zone. You'll see a lost vacuum there as well.
Opts to vacuum the path to the peak.
Okay.
There's an option here. That does get to the 4, but there's no other card to maneuver around right now. Maybe he wants to play his own path to the peak.
I think so. Yes, I want my path in play. I mean, there is no Greninja established for Scott there, so it would make sense.
Oh, it's just a pass.
Just see a pass.
But top deck, what was it? It's a barrel. And he can start swinging for 100.
We could do that tail smash, 3 for 100 on a coin flip. I'd
80.
love to see that.
With the DT attachment,
I'd love to see it. Oh, it's this big barrel. This is a well-equipped big barrel. We're going to see a boss's orders. Alex can't believe what he's seeing here. Into the Spirit Team. I'm going to draw some. Oh my god. Oh, we see an Ultra Ball at least, Alex.
Well, game on. Game on, everybody.
Come on.
Game on.
I want to see that tail smash, Alex. I want to see big barrel. There's industrious incisors being used to attack and take a prize. Here we go. Oh, Ultra Ball coming down. Imagine it has to be. It's actually Toby's first deck search as well, actually. So we'll be able to check the deck and work out exactly what's in the prize cards.
Yeah, Scott 1 card away from taking game 2 very quickly. And unfortunately, that top deck of the barrel simply means that Toby really has life here in this matchup.
I never thought I'd see the barrel in the active. I'm literally jumping around the place. We are going to see that Arceus V come down. But look at that hand. Goodness gracious.
It's not ideal. If that barrel goes down, he's announced it.
Here we go.
Slipped. It's a tails.
Oh, no, big barrel.
Spiritomb lives on.
No.
And now back over to Scott. Poké Gear.
Oh, my God.
This is
riveting action here, Pokey. Look at top 7. Grab a supporter if you find one. Iona or Clara?
Iona.
But then Iona is going to be, you really don't want to play that when you know your opponent isn't drawing well.
Yeah, not the best right now. Not ideal from Scott's perspective. Scott ideally would have been looking for a Chorus Experiment. I believe he's not got one in hand.
No.
But to try and find a way to get to the 7, Mirage Gate, and even just use Shred.
Yeah.
And that would be a KO, unlike in game 1 where we were discussing it earlier. Yeah. But we're just looking now how Scott's going to play this. There is the attached retreat to the Comfey. Big 2. Flower selects once again. Is that another Poké Gear?
It was another Poké Gear. Scott's going to roll the dice again, as it were. Wants to really try and find that Chorus Experiment. Here you go, Poké Gear. Look at the top 7. Grab a supporter, put it in your hand, shuffle the rest back. Are we going to see Chorus?
There it is.
There's 3. Chorus. Chorus is here. Chorus wants to get the pie started right now.
Chorus is getting involved.
He's getting involved.
All up in this business right now. Chorus going to be looking at the top 5 cards, pushing Scott up to the 7 in the lost zone once there are 2. And then it's just a quick concession there from Toby. I think if that barrel was going down, Toby would be in a really, really bad position. So Scott, winner of game 2, tying up the series, and it's on a knife's edge right now for who will make it into day 2.
Oh, it doesn't get much closer than this. A game 3.
Yeah.
Winning in for day 2. Win or go home, essentially. That was all going to come down here. The Giratina mirror match of sorts. Got that Lost Stone Giratina deck versus that Arceus Giratina. Who will be triumphant here? We have 17 minutes, more than enough time to get this game 3 wrapped up. I, for one, am very excited. I hope you are as well at home.
Yeah, make sure you guys are plugging and typing in the chat on the different socials and the different channels who you think will take this final round in our day one at the Dortmund Regional Championships. Both players now, remember, 1-1. Toby with the option to go first or second. I imagine he wants to go first, just so that he can start powering up an Arceus as soon as possible and just getting on board.
Oh, I tell you what, if Toby is going first, that handle's not great. I played a little bit of Arceus myself. Right, look at these prize cards here. We do see the barrel prized, one copy, the only copy of Raihan, and Giratina V for Toby. For Scott, nothing too impactful. Does Toby get an Arceus V star for top? The answer is no. Arceus V, I should say. So it's going to be attach pass for Toby.
Another one of those games.
It is.
Another one of those games for Toby. He's been in this scenario before. Giratina. It's just not, doesn't look too healthy here.
No.
Just a pass with a DTE attachment, I think. So Scott, what can you do? You've got one Cramorant prize, but you've got another one. Maybe you can start dealing some damage now, setting them up for later turns. And as I do think Scott is just playing that Chorus experiment.
Wow, what a Chorus experiment that was. Nest Ball, Cramorant, Battle VIP pass, and you get rid of Tropius and Spiritomb, two cards traditionally not very useful in this matchup. Scott Symonds is off to the races here in our Game 3 Swiss Round 9 feature match here at Dortmund. Remember, people at home, the winner of this round will advance to Day 2. And, you know, in Day 2, try and make their march for that top 8 and maybe even a regional victory.
Yeah, this is super important now for Scott. You know, I've spoken to him many a time over the regionals in recent times. It's been a while since he's kind of found himself in a Day 2 position, and he's looking primed and ready here right now to apply as much pressure to Toby with the hand and Chorus experiment that he's just been able to play down. Toby here is going to need a lot. He's going to need a lot at the moment, but he's got plenty of supporters that he can push himself into a good position.
Got a whole suite of different supporters there. Scott is going to conclude that Battle VIP pass with a Radiant Greninja and a Comfort. Looks like might be playing this Nest Ball here as well. And that's going to grab, what is that going to grab? A Giratina?
Giratina and Cramorant already in hand.
Oh, goodness, yeah, you're right.
Start powering up maybe and set up the double Giratina V that we were hoping to see in Game 1 as well. As we do see the Nest Ball there for Giratina V. Just start thinking about how to best set himself up to take down this Game 3.
You know, even if your opponent has a, you know, a suboptimal start, it's still the onus is on you to make sure you capitalize and try and get that game home. As we do see, Concealed Cards activation there from Radiant Greninja, going to discard a Grass, draw 2. See that path to the peak, we saw how impactful that has been. Flower selecting as well, Alex. Going to get to 3 in the loss zone here.
Just a chance to see more and more cards, and that's what you want, you love to do when you're a Giratina player. Keeps hold of that V-Star, of course. Just wanted to make sure he has access to it going forward. Doesn't really know. Was that into another Comfey with a
I think it was a Mirage Gate and a Water Energy, I believe. Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
So no switch card here, actually. So we're not going to see it spit innocently if I'm not...
Energy attachment, I believe.
Oh, we're not seeing a retreat yet? I apologise.
Just a switch card into the other Comfey, right?
Yep, nope, you are 100% correct. That's why I've got Alex here to rein me in when my eyes deceive me.
Hey, we're here to rein each other in, so it's absolutely fine. Here, Cramorant into the active spot. Lost provisions, activated. Wow. Spit innocently. Swinging, Nest Ball.
The next card was the Nest Ball. Oh my goodness. So we are going to see that, I would imagine, Arceus V come down here. And this poor Giratina V is just stranded in the active. And, what do you even do for Toby? Like, sure, grabbing an Arceus V is fine, right? But then do you just let this Giratina go down? Like, is there any point in trying to evolve it even, just to... so it survives? What do you think?
I mean, the option was that's why he attached a DTE to it, so that it could retreat, you know, fulfills the 2 energy retreat costs. Does mean he'd have to find another DTE, only to power up a damaged Giratina V, which maybe it doesn't sound too bad in matter of fact. But it comes down to this, probably Iono here, because I think Toby still needs a lot of cards.
No, it's a very, very important Iono here for Toby, as both players going to shuffle their hand, put it to the bottom of the deck, and they're both going to get 6 cards. Toby wants to try and just develop the board, you know, extra energy. You know, Bidoof would be nice. Anything along those lines.
There's a DTE, so can start powering up that Giratina V-Star.
Yeah, because the little Trinity Child, which you mentioned in Game 1, is like a baby version of Trinity Nova. Doesn't do any damage, but does let you attach 3 basic energy from your deck to your V Pokemon in any way you like.
Yeah, it does have that extra Arceus V on the bench as well, so maybe could split the energy commitments of the two benched V Pokemon, of course, as he does target what looks to be 2 Psychic and a Grass Energy there. Just double checking the hand, what's available to him. Does have the Judge, does have Boss as well. Does grab all 3 energies and it goes straight onto the V-Star. The Arceus is very unlikely to go down. We spoke about this before. Does have to be lost impacted for that to happen.
I'll tell you what a fantastic turn there for Toby, doing everything he can. It is over to Scott, who's going to kick us off there with the Chorus Experiment. See a lot of energy in that top 5. I see a switch cart there as well. But yeah, this could be a very important turn here for Scott. You know, any 2-prize KO here would be super impactful.
Yeah, what's important is that Toby got that evolution up to the Giratina V-Star.
Yes.
Because that essentially nullifies Cramorant's 110 damage. You know, keeps it out of range of the Shred attack, keeps it out of range of another Cramorant attack. So it's not just a gust that Scott could just look for. So right now, it was just a bit of a almost wasted damage. So Toby still in it and still in a fantastic position, as we do see a Jet Energy slam down onto that Comfey. Flower selecting 2 cards yet again.
Chorus and Nest Ball. So it's like Scott's going to keep the Chorus Experiment there as it gets to 7. So that means there's Mirage Gate alive now. I'm not sure if Scott actually has any. We are going to see a retreat into the next Comfey though. Flower selecting number 2. 1 and 2, and let's see what they are.
Yes, a couple of few options here. I mean, Scott maybe still looking for that V-Star, knowing that didn't want to give up the Sableye as well. I think that was that option between the Switch Cart and the Sableye. Does have Switch Cart in hand at the moment. Remember, Scott had the Giratina V-Star in hand last turn, which was then Iono down to the bottom of the deck. As we do see a Conceal Cards here, continue to draw, hits the boss's orders, but no Giratina V-Star here.
No.
Does it look like it's going to be another prod with Cramorant? We've seen a lot of that, and it didn't go too well last time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, strange turn this has been, but you're right, with no Mirage Gate or V-Star, there will be no massive damage coming out from Scott. I think putting that path to the peak is going to be so important here, though, because Toby, if you know, can get an Arceus V-Star in play, at least if you put path to the peak down, you'll be denying any Star Birth.
Yeah, Scott's mindset is that he will, at some stage, still need to target down that Giratina V-Star on Toby's side of the board, because that's the only Pokemon that from Toby that can actually one-hit one of his own Giratina V-Stars. So we do see the Cramorant just kind of applying some chip damage with Path to the Peak in play. You know, right now, Toby doesn't have an Arceus V-Star in hand, which does mean it's susceptible to another Spit Innocently after this Judge, if it cannot evolve up to 280 HP.
Yep, so Toby has a few outs here. Lost Vacuum to remove that Stadium and an Evolution. That'd probably be the ideal, because then you can use Starbirth as well. You know, Ultra Ball could become Arceus V-Star or just Arc V-Star. Any one of those would be ideal, because I don't think that Arceus V can even KO that Cramorant with Power Edge because of that DTE.
Yeah, Power Edge doing 130, minus 20.
Oh, it does exactly enough.
Just about
I apologize. Oh, we do see Lost Vacuum, but we don't see the Arc V-Star.
Yeah, it's not ideal here. Oh, it's just really tough here from Toby. After that turn 2, it looked like Toby might have been able to stretch himself back into the game. But just missing that one card, that one piece of the puzzle, has meant that Toby could find himself on the back foot here.
Yes, really tough miss there. Dude, looks like we're going to see Nest Ball debate whether to take that Bidoof. Has already attached energy this turn, so I think, yeah, that Power Edge might be the only way get out of, well, I say only way to get out of it. At least it's going to be a KO, but then you're giving up the first 2-prize KO as well. Yeah, not a great turn there for Toby. So I was going to see that Power Edge for that KO.
Power Edge, but remember, Scott doesn't have access to the other Cramorant right now.
True.
Because it's in the prizes. So does that mean that this Arceus V could potentially survive an additional turn? I don't think Scott will allow it, or look to allow it, but it depends, of course, on how Scott sees these flower selections. Those little micro decisions could completely change the course of the game, as we do see a Nest Ball hitting the Lost Zone from there.
For a Chorus Experiment, so that seems mighty fine to me. And it looks like Scott is debating to play this Mirage Gate first. That makes sense. Remove energy from the deck, so your Chorus has better odds of you hitting, well, exactly what you want.
Yeah, some important cards Scott will be looking for here. You know, this is an opportunity to allow him to actually take the KO this time with Shred if he chooses to do so.
Yeah, that is live.
and a retaliation from the V-Star onto a shredded Giratina does mean they go into the discard, can be super rodded back. So there's a few things going for that type of direction if Scot chooses to do so.
Yeah, this is a super interesting game here in our round 9 feature match here at Dortmund Regionals. Remember, viewers, if you're just joining us now, the winner of this game will advance into day 2. That second day of competition to get increased prizes. As Scot does play a chorus experiment, we see a V-Star, obviously 2 V-Stars actually, a escape rope and a path to the peak. And are we going to see both V-Stars getting sent to the loss zone?
No. I think that's the hand to keep.
Okay.
Now he's just deciding potentially which one to keep here. Remember, it's only one catcher effect in the deck, if I'm not mistaken. Just the one boss's orders. Doesn't play any counter catchers.
Wow.
You know, utilizing that space for the Lost Vacuums in his list, the Clara in his list. So just kind of relying on recovery cards to allow him to keep attacking when and how he wants to.
And it looks like that boss's orders is getting sent to the loss zone, Alex, so there will be no gusting effects from Scot for the rest of this game.
Just that escape rope there.
Yeah.
Which could be huge.
At some point, as we are going to see escape rope being played now. Okay. What is the optimal promotion here, Alex, for Toby?
Yeah, just wanting to give up the one prize. It forces Scot to have to still take out 3 big V or V-star Pokemon, which makes it really difficult for them. If Toby sent up the fresh Arceus V, I mean, then Scot would probably look to try and attack with a V-Star, just take the easy 2 prizes, and then find a way to retaliate that way. But yeah, there's so many different decisions that has to be made here. Toby knowing he gets an additional extra turn by just giving up that 1 prizer.
Yeah, I think that makes all perfect sense to me. Does obviously have to give up his only Medusa, but Barrel won't be an option for at least in the immediate future, but I think it was the most sensible promotion. As we are going to see a double Giratina V-Star hit the field. Let's see what
Interesting decision here that both have been evolved up. Because now the only way to attack is either a Star Requiem or a Lost Impact, which then just doesn't really have the same value that a Shred or a Cramorant attack usually has. It's just a pass over.
Yeah, I think not having access to that second Cramorant there, super impactful as it is over to Toby now. Does have the barrel in hand. Path to the Peak is still in play. Is that a Lost Vacuum though for Toby in hand?
I can't quite work it out. It is one, yeah. The nice shiny gold version of it does give himself access to the Arceus V-Star Starbirth ability, but still needs to draw into it or find an Ultra Ball. Is that a risk he's willing to take right now after evolving up?
Well, we see it at least into play. I mean, you could Lost Vacuum, then play your Judge. I mean, you could attach this and then draw, what, 2? Is it 2? Yeah, draw 2. I mean,
if you Lost Vacuum now, you draw up to 4 with the barrel, and then you still have Judge to try and dig a little bit further, but holds on to the boss because, you know, it's vital. He could try and take out a Giratina. Here we go. Boss's orders.
Okay, here we
all
go,
in here, I think.
Industrious Incisors.
Does have the V-Star ready to start swinging anyway, so we'll be able to take 2 prizes here. Starbirth.
Oh, there we go.
Live.
Double Starbirth
live. And this is massive here because it takes out one of those threats on Scot's side of the board.
Yeah, what a fantastic swing turn there that was for Toby, drawing everything he needs to. Going to actually use Starbirth for the first time here in our best of 3, letting Toby grab any 2 cards from his deck via that Starbirth V-Star ability from Arceus V-Star.
Yeah, Toby, you know, showcasing exactly why he's able to pilot this deck to such a fantastic position throughout many tournaments. I know he's played, like I said, Arceus V-Star for quite some time now, partnered with that Giratina, and partnered with different attackers as well. I've seen him play it with Slacking. In previous renditions alongside the Path, of course. Then it keeps swinging for big damage. But he's just showcasing exactly why he's been able to do so well with a deck like this.
And it looks like those Starbirth targets have been chosen. Didn't quite get to see what they were, but they have been chosen now. Fantastic V-Star powers. So Path to the Peak and Switch. So we're going to
save that energies because we could just keep that DT as the lost zone option if Scot is not able to retaliate onto his Giratina V-Star. Does hold on to the choice belt as well. Right now, maybe a little bit less impactful. There's the DT being discarded because it does meet the requirements of the attack. Takes Toby down to 3 prizes remaining. Scot with just the 1 Giratina V-Star on the bench now. How can he retaliate here?
Needs to try and get that Giratina V-Star swinging realistically, right? I mean, that would be ideal scenario. You really don't want to let this Giratina V-Star from Toby announce lost impact again for 2 prizes. Let's see what Scot can do. To see a Mirage Gate here, so I think that's going to be live. Does actually have 14 cards in the Lost Zone, so Star Requiem would also be live here as well.
Yeah, it does have enough energies in the deck with that Mirage Gate coming down. Does have access to another Super Rod for latter turns and the Clara as well to try and bring back some energies and maybe some attackers here. But resources are starting to really thin out here for Scot. Remember, clock is starting to run down now. A minute and a half remaining. It's on Scot to really apply as much pressure as possible. Yeah, there's the poker gear coming down once again. The barrel setup means he's quite, I was going to say, Roxanne-proof from any sort of disruption.
And looks like, yep, we're going to show the target there. Yep.
Roxanne.
Okay, so will Scot play that Roxanne? I mean, I don't think it hasn't played supporter yet, has he? So it is live.
Yeah, it is live for the time being. Lost vacuums the path to the peak. Because now, you know, there's not much for Scot to stop from Toby's side of the board because Starbirth has been used. Keep himself live for Greninja if he ever did need to continue drawing cards. Just deciding whether he wants to bench another Comfey just to not draw back into it.
And yeah, there we do see that Roxanne. Going to give Scot a whole new hand of 6 and Toby a new hand of 2 cards. Now Toby will have a top deck and Industrious Incisors to play around with, but it's going to reduce those options at least out the gate. Let's see what Scot can do here with this hand.
Yeah, I feel like Scot's deck's like quite thin already as well.
Yeah, I mean there's what, 15 cards in the Lost Zone already, so. Yeah,
all those resources. There's a Super Rod. Does Scot have access to any more Mirage Gates for future turns? There is being played in quick succession here. Would ideally like to set up another Giratina if possible, because this Giratina V-Star will take 2 hits to go down.
Yep.
But Toby has time to do that, as time has now sort of gone down to the 0 mark. So we'll get confirmation that we are in time with Scot in the position of being turn 0 to try and level up the game and potentially go ahead. Because remember, if he's able to take 4 prizes before Toby could take 1 more, it does mean he'd be ahead in prizes and potentially win in the final turn rules, or sudden death rules, I should say. So really tight here, really, really tight.
We do see that concealed cards being used there as well from Radiant Greninja. There's no path to the peak in play now. So let's see what Scot can manufacture. We're going to see a pay retreat into the Comfey. We'll try and get confirmation of... and there we do see the Star Requiem being used for that auto KO on Toby's Giratina V-Star. Now this Giratina V-Star from Scot isn't going to go down in a hurry. Oh, was that a top deck of Raihan?
Yeah, I mean, maybe the Raihan is less important. What Toby needs to do here is look for back-to-back boss's orders. So we had confirmation that time has been called. So Toby, if he uses 1 boss's orders on one of the single prizes, that will put him down to 2. Scot could retaliate, put himself down to 2 as well. And then the onus will be on Toby, I believe, to take 1 more final prize before Scot could. It'll be the first one to take a prize at that time. Right, but that does mean Toby needs back-to-back boss's orders, because right now there's Giratinas in the active spot. Just kind of double-checking who will be turn 1. If time was called during Scot's turn, Scot would have been turn 0. Toby would have turn 1. So just to get confirmation as well, it's big. Toby is turn 0.
Oh, really? Okay. So that changes things then. So
just for the viewers at home, after time has been called on whoever's turn it is, their turn will be turn 0. Therefore, Scot will be turn 1, Toby turn 2, and then Scot will be the final turn of the game. So really, really tense here. Really important decisions to be made. which Giratina will make it through to day 2? That's the most important question right now on everyone's lips.
Yep, and I tell you what, it doesn't get more nail-biting than this. Going down to time in a Game 3 winning-in scenario for day 2. We've got the face-off of the Giratina decks. You've got the Lost Zone Giratina on the left and the Arceus Giratina on the right. We're just going to get confirmation of the time turns, and then we'll get back into the action. But wow, this is going right down to the wire.
Yeah, right to the edge. Remember, it was you guys at home that made this decision.
You did a quick decision.
You made this happen.
Well done to you. Shout outs to you for doing this. I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit shocked. I did not expect this to be the matchup to win, but you guys, fantastic choice. Who am I to doubt you? It looks like we are getting back into the action here. And Scott was turn 0, so that means this is now still Toby's turn, and it's turn 1.
Yeah, this is turn 1. So Toby will now have the final turn of the game. So again, Toby with turn 1. Got it wrong slightly a moment ago, but glad we got it fixed up for everyone watching at home. So Toby will be turn 1. Scott will have his final turn on the next turn, and as Toby will have a way of potentially pushing himself ahead on prizes, depending on how these final turns go here. That Raihan has been played. Attachment from the discard of a basic energy to one of your Pokemon, and you then may search your deck for any card you would like. Another way of tutoring any card you want, similar to Starbirth.
Yeah, no, fantastic card. Lets you accelerate energy as well. V-Guard, love to see that. Could be a little bit too late here. We are going to see Industrious Incisors here. Going to draw 3 cards. Let's see what those 3 cards are for Toby. Ultra Ball, V-Star, and Grass Energy.
Yeah, the worrying thing now, with Toby being turn 1 and having the final turn of the game, there's the Trinity Nova attack. It's 200 damage on that Giratina V. If Scott takes the knockout here, does go ahead on prizes, but leaves, unfortunately, a 2-prizer in the active spot, which does mean Toby will be in a very commanding position.
As we do see that 180 damage on that Giratina V-Star, but you're right, you know, having that extra turn almost taken away from Toby is going to make it a lot harder. And let's see what Scott can do here. Currently at 4 prize cards remaining, so this is going to be what, turn 2 of time, as we are going to see that Clara being played, letting you grab any 2 Pokemon back from your discard pile into your hand, and any 2 basic energy cards as well.
Yeah, I think what was vital in one of the previous turns was Toby being able to take the KO on a Giratina V-Star before Scott was able to start swinging away. And it does put Toby in a really commanding position here. You know, Clara being played, grabbing 2 energies back into their hands. With both Arceus V-Stars now powered up with 3 energies each, or at least 3 energies each, it does mean that Giratina V-Star on Scott's side of the board will go down to either of them attacking.
It really will, and as it looks like Scott's going to draw into Escape Rope and energy from that concealed cards there. I'm trying to work out. So this is Scott's last turn, right?
Yes, correct. This is turn 2 of time.
Yep.
1 more turn remaining for Toby here. Scott's deliberating, attaching to the active Giratina V-Star right now. And it is just a lost impact onto that Arceus V-Star. And here we go, because Scott's down to 2 prizes, Toby down to 3. Is able to announce, if I'm not mistaken, the knockout if this is turn 3 of time.
Yeah.
And take the knockout, and will be just down to 1 prize. And because of the time rules and sudden death rules, will be ahead and win this game.
Sudden death rules, how it works? Are we sure?
That's very true.
So
that's very true. So I mean, of course, because we're not in, those are kind of more top 8 rules. So I do apologize. And that's the exact way how we would see it in
top
a more
cut. Yes.
top cut. But I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. It's just because we just want to see one of our UK players do well and make it into day 2 as well. But it's just one of those things where it's just so tight here. And it's just those, Toby would need maybe 1 more turn.
Yeah, 1 more turn would have been enough, but it looks like we're going to see a Trinity Nova for KO. But that game will conclude there and should end as a tie of both players will be 1-all in our round 9 feature match there, winning in. for day 2, I should say.
Yeah, so if it is a tie, and I think it's just been circled there for both our players, both players will be taking a 5-2-2 record, putting themselves, unfortunately, out of day 2, but in a position where they do take some points away towards a potential Worlds invite. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. I really wanted to see one of them make it into day 2, because like I said, we both know them quite well, and we've seen them on the European circuit and the UK circuit for quite some time now. And it's just unfortunate we won't see them into day 2, but a great showing by both players.
It was fantastic showing for both decks. A deck that we haven't really seen too much, Arceus Giratina, doing fantastic. If you had one more turn, would have been able to clutch that victory out there. But unfortunately, as it stands, we will see that one end in a tie. But a fantastic showing nonetheless.
Yeah, incredible showing from both types of Giratina decks here. Make sure you continue to follow us on the socials, on the channels below. But I think after